Hello, we are Jimena Calla Arroyo and Paula Cendros Riutort, and this is our presentation, The Many Shapes of Water, Migration in Avatar, The Way of Water. And we're going to analyze the topics of migration and the symbol of water in the following slides. For our summary, James Cameron's Avatar, The Way of Water, develops 16 years after the first movie, after Jake Sully has become the chief of the Omaticaya clan, as he builds a family in Pandora with Neytiri and their children, Neteyam, Loak, Tuktirei, or Tuk, and their adopted daughter, Kiri. After years living and learning about Pandora, the Resources Development Administration, or RDA, returns to colonize the planet as Earth begins to die, and the Sally family is forced to leave their home in the forests of Pandora and seek refuge with the Metkayina tribe of the islands. There, they will have to learn the way of water and adapt to an aquatic lifestyle, much different from the one they are accustomed to. As a way of adapting and finding their own identity in a new place, the Salis explore the depth of belonging to a new community amidst an ongoing battle against the forces that aim to overrun them. After that, our thesis would be in Avatar The Way of Water, water becomes a symbol of spirituality and belonging, which is used to contrast two opposing views of migration the colonizing invasion of humans and the adaptive movement of the Na'vi. The film argues that migration should be fluid and responsive to different communities. We have identified the context of this movie to be posthumanity. Posthumanism looks at how technology blurs the line of what human even means, which is shown through posthuman bodies and technology. To begin with, posthuman bodies appear in the way Colonel Quaritch and the other soldiers return as recon avatars, genetically engineered Navi bodies with human memories. They are stronger, more resistant, better adapted to Pandora than normal humans. But this posthuman transformation is one sided. They don't become Navi to understand or respect them, they do it to colonize better. It's an instrumental posthumanism. They use new bodies and tech to reinforce colonial mentality. They are also represented as cyborgs following Donna Haraway's definition. The cyborg is a hybrid entity that collapses the traditional boundary between organism and machine, embodying a partial, ironic, and non origin based subject that refuses the binary split of nature based versus culture. Quaritch is a harrowing cyborg because he's a hybrid, a grown Navi body carrying the digitized memories of dead human soldier. His origin is not a natural birth but a technological one, and he fights using both his organic Navi body and military technology like guns, scanners, aircraft, etc. Therefore, he is at once native body and technological product, an organism as well as a weapon. He looks like he belongs to Pandora's ecosystem, but is literally manufactured by a human military industrial system. That's Haraway's cyborg, a figure that makes the border between human and non-human and natural and artificial completely unstable. Moreover, the view on technology and supremacy from a post-human point of view is also essential in this movie, since, since humans live and fight through machines, ships, exoskeletons, etc. They believe they are superior to the Navis because of their technological advancements. Therefore, human power and supremacy is extended through technology. This is a map of the two models of migration that we have created, the human model and the Navi model. We have defined the human model as a colonizing invasion. From the opening scene, we see the sky people returning, which already frames humans as an invading force, announcing once again a logic of exploitation, extraction, and accumulation. Their presence in Pandora is defined by accumulation of land, of resources, and of power, rather than any attempt to connect with the people or the environment. The humans assimilate to Pandora through posthuman navy bodies. Solely for their own benefit, they transform into the other species to move, fight, and dominate better. As they state, Earth is dying. Our task is to tame this frontier, nothing less than to make Pandora the new home for humanity. But before we can do that, we need to pacify the hosts. The rhetoric of a dying Earth positions humans as the victims, which allows them to present their invasion as a kind of necessity or even a right. This language reveals entitlement. They believe they deserve the land precisely because they are human, establishing a colonial hierarchy where humans are the masters and non human beings, such as the Navi and the natural world, are subalterns. Their migration destroys ecosystems. It is not an act of seeking refuge, but one of occupation, extraction, and accumulation. Pandora is described as a frontier that must be tamed, and whose hosts must be pacified, which reduces its inhabitants to obstacles that need to be controlled or eliminated.
Now, when it comes to our Navi model, which we have called Uturo, it is contrary to the humans. The Sally family are forced to migrate to a different area of Pandora because their tribe is being attacked due to Jake's past connection with the generals of the RDA. The family carries out an internal migration to another tribe that they are already aware of. They know their beliefs may align, but they also introduce how each territory has their own ways, traditions, and cultures as they recognize that the Sea clans are a world unto themselves. As much as they are aware it is a place inhabited by Navi like them, they know it is an unknown territory into which they could just vanish without a trace. The most important difference is that the Sali family asks the Metkayina tribe for Uturu, which they interpret as a request for refuge. The Metkayina accept the Sali family into their tribe, making clear that to fully be part of their community, they must learn and adopt its customs. This considers the idea of belonging. To adapt to their new home, they have to do it taking into account the place they have gone to. They have to observe and understand the other's ways. Compared to the human model, where they impose themselves there and destroy the land, the Mekayina themselves choose to teach them their differences as the chief states teach them our ways so they do not suffer the shame of being useless. And in that way, while pointing them out, like their physical appearance, it is not meant to diminish them, but to make the Sulis consider their disparities and use them to their advantage. Additionally, the Navi model opens another question regarding a vulnerability that all Navi share now, which is being real Navi or not. Jake's Navi, Jake's Navi body is technically not a real Navi in the same way as Neytiri's, because his was technologically made to adapt to Pandora when it was discovered. This is the plot of the first movie, but by the end, Jake is able to completely and solely adapt to what we have called before his cyborg body, and he becomes Navi. In that way, Neytiri, who was born in Pandora, and his children are mixed, and that is something that makes them vulnerable, not with the human, but with the other Navi. As a way of messing with them and doubting their ability to understand the Metkayina ways, they are called freaks, and they are told that they are not even real Navi. By the end, however, regarding who Jake was, the whole family, even themselves, are seen as Metkayina as well. Their identity has been shaped by the fact that they had to migrate to a new land and tribe, and now those are part of their identity. As Jake declares, we are sea people now. This is our home. They are no longer only Metkayina or forest people. They are now also Metkayina or reef people. Before digging into the concept of water, related to the migration models, our take on the topic through this film aligns with a sustainable development goal, the number 10 on reduced inequalities. As it, among other things, calls for safe, orderly, and responsible migration. In Avatar The Way of Water, water symbolizes the ethical model of migration that reduced inequalities envisions for the future. The Salis family request for refuge and their willingness to adopt the Metkayina culture, which contributes to the tribe's acceptance, reflect migration grounded in cultural sensitivity and equality. Contradictory, the human's colonial approach that imposes dominance and invasion represents the very forms of inequality and displacement that goal number 10 seeks to dismantle. Moving on, we are going to analyze the concept of water and other aquatic symbols in the movie related to migration and spirituality. We have analyzed water as it represents the ethical way of migrating. The Navi's spirituality is based on Ewa, the mother goddess that created Pandora as a reciprocal system. When the beings of Pandora take from the planet's sources to live, such as food, water, materials for shelter, or tools, they return to the earth upon dying. Through this return, they restore balance, since their bodies and souls are connected to Ewa and continue the cycle of life. From the Metkayina, we learn how water is the main medium through which they have this connection to Ewa, and therefore Pandora. Water creates the pathway that links the Navi to Pandora and to one another. As they explains, the way of water has no beginning and no end. The sea is around you and in you. The sea is your home before your birth and after your death. The Salis must come to understand and recognize their connection to water in order to find their identity in the new tribal land. The Metkayina explain it through the sea because it is what they mostly use and depend on to live, but what they also return the benefit to once they die, as is also reflected in the statement, the sea gives and the sea takes. In that same sense, because water connects all things, life to death, darkness to light, the Saleh family is able to adopt the Metkayina ways and make them their own as well, becoming part of the community they once asked for refuge. If water connects all things, all creatures of Pandora, then the forest people can become part of the reef people and vice versa. And they only have to acknowledge the belief that what connects them is water, or in other words, the same system they live through, AWAS.
Alongside learning the way of water, aquatic spirituality is also the core spine of this movie. For the sea people, water is not just an element but a materialization of Ewa's presence, as we can see in water connects all things, life to death, darkness to light. Water is represented through a religious language, and it becomes a symbol of infinity and continuity between life and death. Therefore, the aquatic symbols and aquatic spirituality present a cyclical idea of existence, represented in the people say that all energy is only borrowed, and one day you have to give it back. Nothing is ever lost. When an avi dies, their body and soul are offered back to Ewa. The ocean receives and redistributes that energy into the wider ecosystem. Like water, life flows, changes forms, but never completely disappears. Their aquatic spirituality is based on rituals and collective memory, as well as a connection with the natural world. The Cove of Ancestors serves as the underwater equivalent to the Tree of Souls, where Navi dive to a glowing coral, where they can connect with Ewa, relive memories, and encounter their ancestors. This is a ritual where immersion in water represents immersion in memory, and where the knowledge of the past and of ancestors is accessed through water, not through archives or books. When it comes to the spiritual connection with the natural world, we have the example of the tulkuns, which instead of animals are seen as spiritual beings. They have language, songs, and complex emotions, and they can life bond with navis. Therefore, when a tulkun is hunted, its death becomes a spiritual wound to the clan. Its tulkun embodies the idea that the sea is conscious, and that non human life holds knowledge, memory, and moral value. This idea connects to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, life below water and life on land. This movie presents both an alternative and a critique to the way humans deal with life below water. While the Navi see life below water as equal, they protect them and even form emotional bonds with them. Humans arrive with ships that hunt tulkuns because they consider sea animals as sources of profit. The Navi perspective reflects the spirit of these sustainable development goals, since it recognizes that ocean life must be protected. Moreover, this movie also supports the development goal of life on land, since it criticizes the destruction of the forest and its animals. At the beginning of the movie, humans arrive with massive machines that burn forests and kill the animals that inhabit it, which contrasts with the previous representation of the Navi's ways, which manage the forest and the life on land sustainably, taking only what they need in a sacred exchange based on respect. Therefore, this movie portrays these goals by opposing the Navi's sustainable and spiritual relationship with life on land and will of water with the human's destruction and model of extraction. Aquatic spirituality is also seen as an epistemology. This movie serves as an addition to the concept of epistemologies of the South, since it recognizes the aquatic spirituality as a knowledge and not a superstition, contrary to the colonizers' belief and ways of knowing, which disregard Navi's spirituality. Water becomes a medium of knowledge, and the film stages a conflict between a colonial epistemology and an aquatic, indigenous epistemology where water, animals, and ancestors form a living network of knowledge. In conclusion, Avatar The Way of Water shows that belonging cannot be created through domination or invasion, but through connection and reciprocity. It ends with a spirit of resistance against the human invasion that is destroying their land and their people by saying, I see now I can save my family by running. This is our home. This is our fortress. This is where we make our stand. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.